I don't know. 88.1 The Burg, your music central. Welcome back to What to Watch Weekends, everybody. My name is Nathan, host of What to Watch Wednesdays and the current show What to Watch Weekends, and I'm joined here by my irregular co-host by the name of Walter.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, indeed. Welcome. Last week I couldn't stop calling you Water as a joke, and then it turned into an actual flub.
Yeah, my roommate brought that up as I was leaving. He's like, "Have fun, Water."
Great, that's amazing right there. Welcome everybody. It's the spooky month has begun indeed. I hope you're ready, Walter
Yep.
and audience. The spooky month of October has begun, and it's kind of annoying to me that we call it October, even though it's the 8th. It's not the 8th month. It should be the 8th month, but it's the 10th month of the year. Do the people that make calendars not know how to count? Is my question. Can we fire them? But aside from that really stupid joke, that means we can also talk about exclusively monster and horror movies this month, because theming is very good, and it makes a lot of sense when you really think about it. So tonight we are going to be diving into some of the movies that I reviewed on Wednesday's show, that being movies from the Universal Monster series. You know, you got things, your classics like Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, and then the Invisible Man is the only one that's kind of added on from Wednesday's show, because I was busy with homework the rest of the week and I couldn't watch any of the other ones that I wanted to. So no Werewolf of London, and no Bride of Frankenstein, and no Creature from the Black Lagoon, because I read only the first half of the Wikipedia article and thought it was an indie movie when it was actually a Universal Monster movie. But in my defense, I don't have a VHS player yet, and I have Black Lagoon on a VHS tape, so like I gotta watch it ideally, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I want to wait until I have a player set up somewhere to watch that one. So, but it's still not a lie. The tagline is we're doing Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, and more, and The Invisible Man is one more, so it counts. Mm-hmm. We aren't lying. This isn't false advertising. Don't worry. We haven't scammed you at all. You're not paying anything, so it's fine. Walter, are you ready to jump into the first one?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do like that enthusiasm right there. So our first movie of the night will be Dracula from 1931, available to watch on Amazon Prime. For those of you who have never heard of Dracula before, you're lying. Second off, the basic plot follows the mysterious Count Dracula as he brainwashes an advertising man by the name of Renfield and uses him as a way to get back to Britain, back to mainland Britain, so that he can suck people's blood, because he's a vampire. That's what they do. It's really fun. That's just such a fun idea. Oh, look, these things called mosquitoes and vampire bats suck people's blood. Let's make an entire creature around that same concept. Their teeth are straws. Their teeth are straws. You cannot convince me otherwise, and nobody's ever tried to convince me otherwise. Do you agree with this?
Yeah.
Good. We've got confirmation from the science man himself. They are in fact straw teeth. That's such an interesting visual to think about. But so Walter, you when I mentioned that we were talking about Dracula, you said to me, what did you say?
Okay, so when I was probably 7th or 8th grade, I read the entirety of the Bram Stoker's Dracula book.
Right.
I think like the late 1800s was when it was originally published.
I wouldn't be surprised
like
if
early,
it was
maybe
around that time.
Early 1910s.
Yeah.
Around that time. And to this day, not a single Dracula movie has followed the book faithfully, mainly because it's a massive book. It'll take 20 hours to tell the full story of Dracula in an entirety. And movies, as they do, they edit, like, for sake of, pleasing the audience or making it something that works on the screen.
Making it 20 hours long.
Yeah, and not sitting in the theater for a 20-hour film.
I mean, I've seen a 7-hour movie, and even that was a little bit long.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, I found it interesting because you said to me more specifically that you feel qualified to complain about how they don't get it
am.
accurate. Oh, so you are accurate. You are qualified.
I'm not qualified, but I'm gonna say I am. So
Okay,
therefore I am.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I got my job as a quote-unquote critic here on the Burg, is saying I'm qualified when my qualifications come from just watching a lot of movies.
Yeah.
So you're qualified if you say you are.
Yes.
It's completely fine. I think we'll do what we did last week, where we kind of just jump back and forth between one of my points, one of your points, and we'll just kind of see where that goes, if that makes sense and works for you. Okay, so I think my first thing I wanted to mention about the original Dracula movie is that Renfield, the advertising man that Dracula hypnotizes, he's this like normal person at first, and then he turns into this complete madman. I love Renfield. I really, really do. He is, in my opinion, the portrayal in the movie has been overshadowed by Bela Lugosi. Of course, it makes sense. It's Bela Lugosi as Dracula. But at the same time, I like how they made this minor character, the one who you kind of follow for the first act, into something interesting. Like, he changes from this like normal guy into this like absolute freak, and it's like he's like, his hair goes from being like slicked back and sophisticated to being like bangs hanging out the front, and him just like staring around with absolute madness as he's like wanting to eat bugs and birds. Like, he's now just been brainwashed into wanting to drink blood, just like Dracula. And it's just, I feel like it's such a missed opportunity for people to kind of copy what the original actor of what was his name? Dwight Frye. I don't know why he's not talked about more. If people can make 50 video essays talking about why Joaquin Phoenix is good as the Joker and why Anthony Hopkins is good as Hannibal Lecter, they can make at least 5 video essays about why Dwight Frye as Renfield is good. And I've never seen it. Granted, I don't actually go looking for that kind of thing, but just going off of the basic results, it's not like people... Because it's such a well-known story, and it's got so many adaptations.
Yeah, for sure.
So many adaptations of it that it's like, of course, there's like 5 billion different Renfields out there. There's like upwards of like 12, and people just kind of seem to ignore the original Renfield, or more so, not in reference to Nosferatu, which that's a completely different can of worms that I'm saving for a different day. But with the Dracula from 1931, I wish people talked about him more. I wish that he was kind of emulated his style a lot more, because the thing that like people tend to talk about, they try to like always talk about being a psycho in movies, and they're always like, oh, you got to look like this, you got to have this look to him. I think what makes Dwight Frye work is that he's got this like facial expression where his eyes are wide, but his eyelids are like half closed. He's just like smiling, and his like eyebrows are down as he just stands at the bottom of the stairs to this like random ocean liner that he and Dracula are stowaways on, and he just sits there wheezing and laughing, and it sounds like he's like breaking down crying, and it's just like the look, it's just such an iconic moment that I was like, this is horrifying to me, the fact that this man has been broken, and I haven't even known him for more than 30 minutes, and he just looks like that, is so incredibly astounding to me that more people don't talk about this character. I just wish it was brought up more, and it's like, it's an underrated aspect from the original Dracula. It sounds like a crazy thing to say when I say it out loud, but at the same time I stand by my statement.
Yeah.
So that's my first point.
All right. Well, when it comes to Dracula movies, I just had to look it up, and as of 2021, including all the spoofs, spin-offs, and sequels, guess how many there are?
How many?
Guess.
Oh,
Guess a number.
I remember seeing somewhere it was like about 30.
55.
No.
Yes.
How many of them had Renfield in it?
Most of them.
Oh boy.
And out of those 55, only 16 of them they follow, or at least they're called Dracula by Bram Stoker or Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Right.
This is including Nosferatu
Right.
from 1922.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I just watched a video essay on it about 2 hours ago about like this guy went into detail, like following the story and giving each 16 of these movies like 1 point, how well they followed the book. And only one of them was like, no, two of them were like good enough to say
Right.
these follow the story well enough. But then again, they're still movies.
Yeah.
So in a bunch of points, they kind of did their own thing. I just forgot what I was going to say. But
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Do you remember which two he gave points to?
he gave the BBC home movies version from 2007 like an A+ rating, and then he gave the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula from 1992. He gave that one an A-.
Interesting, because that one is the one that's called Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yes.
And that I haven't seen that one quite yet, but
No. I saw some screenshots of it,
yeah.
and then I just read the synopsis. I read the don't tell my professors, but I read the Cliff Notes version of Dracula the other day, just so I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And out of all the like media surrounding Dracula, you know what follows the story really well?
What?
Castlevania on the PlayStation.
What?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay, we need to back up here for a second. Let me ask you this.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't Bram Stoker's Dracula, the one by Francis Ford Coppola, wasn't that the one that's notorious for having Dracula be having like the blonde hair with the humps on top of his head? That like
the one that
they
I
copy
called it the Mr. Burns Dracula from Treehouse of Horror.
wait.
Yeah.
Mr. Okay, yeah. That now I'm just imagining him wear that.
No,
Because-
that's what he wore
No,
to
that's
play
fair.
Dracula. Yeah.
That's fair. I was more so thinking of the reference to in Hotel Transylvania, where Johnny orders that like suit off of Amazon, and it's exactly that costume.
Yeah.
So so that follows it more closely.
Yes.
Okay, then, that's funny. So continue with Castlevania here.
Yes. So following like all the details, and it's like Dracula has all these like powers. Like he can turn into like green mist. He can like
What?
green like mist or like green fog in the
Oh.
book. Yeah.
That
And then he could like turn into a wolf. He
Right.
can like morph into things.
right.
And like I don't know, a lot of things. But also vampires are kind of lame.
yeah, they
Yeah,
are.
they're really like weak.
Yeah, because it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, oh, you're gonna hit me with garlic or like steak through the heart?
Go outside and die.
It's a wonderful day.
Drink water, die.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, they can't drink water?
They can't drink water. They can't touch water. They can't go out in the rain.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Sucky power, especially if it's like late at night, because it's like, hey, it's raining outside. Oh, but it's the night.
Yeah.
It's too bad. Too bad. You're stuck.
Yeah. Another thing, very few of the movies followed. Well, no, not a single movie has followed. In the book, Dracula is described as an old man with a mustache,
Uh-huh.
and not a single movie has done that.
No.
As Dracula with a mustache just seems like a really funny vision in my head.
Now just imagining like Bela Lugosi with like a handlebar. that is a pretty good image, honestly. And here I was thinking that Bela Lugosi's performance is good. I mean, it is. It still is.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's interesting that so few of them seem to follow the original. I'm sure the 1930s one doesn't follow it.
No, it does its like own thing pretty much entirely.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Like, is that? Does it still work as a story?
It still works as a story, like totally.
Right. It's just it doesn't. I think it's kind of it's obviously very commonplace.
Yeah.
For a lot of it, but now I'm just thinking how funny it is that like so few of them out of 55 have ever come close. A Nosferatu, I understand.
Yeah.
Because that one specifically was made as like a ploy, basically to like adapt Dracula without having to pay the royalties for it, because it was made in like Germany in the 1920s, or was it Russia or Germany?
Germany, I believe. Yeah.
So it was like made in Germany, and they didn't have the rights to it, so they basically had to change all of it.
Yeah.
To like, but it's still about vampires and stuff like that. And so, and even then they still ended up getting sued.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works out. Oopsie daisies. But at the same time, it's like, with such a prolific story, you'd think that someone eventually would try.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does make sense that Francis Ford Coppola did it. I don't like how he made Megalopolis, but that's a different conversation. I think I've heard things about, I've heard a thing or two about Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I've heard it's kind of goofy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, if it's accurate, it could be interesting to see how they kind of line it up. Mm-hmm. I should ask you now, actually, do you remember Renfield's role in the original story?
Not really.
That's fair.
Considering the fact I read the book when I was 15, 14.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, how do you remember how, like, if you had to guesstimate how many pages it was?
Let's see. This is going to sound like a very stupid and very American metric, but a Diary of a Wimpy Kid book.
Okay.
That is 215 pages. Don't ask me how I know that.
Oh, no, I know. I know. It's 217.
217, that's it.
Yep.
So it's about 4 to 5 times the size of one of those.
Okay.
So you do the math. So that's what, 408. Say like 1,000 pages.
Okay.
Almost. Around there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I find it annoying that I was able to, A, decipher exactly what you're talking about, and B, I even corrected you, because I've looked at it, and they're exactly 217 pages long. Man, we're getting off track here. Bela Lugosi, everybody.
Yes.
I don't know how much of the original movie you've seen before. If you've just seen
I
clips.
saw it years ago.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Around the same time I finished reading the book.
Right. So. Okay, that tracks.
Yeah.
Did you like? Was it like watched in like middle school because you guys had read the book?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you remember like Bela Lugosi's role at all.
Yeah, kind of. Like I remember what he looked like.
Right.
I watched some like clips of it on YouTube this morning.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, what was your opinion on it?
For being a now almost 100-year-old movie.
Yep.
Yeah. It was really well done. I know there was a bunch of scenes that like I might be confusing it with Nosferatu, but I believe this movie, it was not done in black and white, but instead it was done in black and light blue.
That's Nosferatu.
Nosferatu. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that is an important thing to bring up. I will. The only reason I'm not talking about Nosferatu tonight is because at some point later in the year, I'm going to talk about Werner Herzog, who made a movie called Nosferatu the Vampire, and I'm going to bring up the original Nosferatu around that time. So I'm holding off on it. But at any rate, the original Dracula, I think it's... Man, we've been all over the place tonight, but it's fine. To kind of like pick it up, as you said, for being nearly 100 years old, it's crazy to me that Bela Lugosi's role is basically the thing that everybody parodies. Mm-hmm. Like for the last 100 years of movies,
yes,
it's been referenced, parodied, emulated in some aspect. Like it's been ingrained into our culture specifically, like all of it. And I on the one hand, it's like, why, guys, couldn't you stray from it a little bit, try to be accurate?
Yeah.
And then they tried it with Bram Stoker's and with Francis Ford Coppola's. But at the same time, I see why.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure if you saw from the clips, like his presence, just his height alone. It's what makes him work. Mm-hmm. He's got the presence.
He's a really like weird looking guy. Yeah. Well, I don't mean it like that,
Yeah,
but
yeah, no,
you know
no,
what
no.
I mean.
Yeah.
He's a very, like, you see the picture of him, and then we're like, oh yes, that's Dracula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got this, the way I described him is he's kind of a magical person, and if you want like this weird kind of magical being, you kind of need a magical actor to do it in order to make it work. And I think Bela Lugosi really is magic in a sense that he does look a bit goofy or kind of weird, but it works when you put him through like makeup and you give him this kind of like strange overcoat, this very ornate look to it. And his accent specifically, I know he was American Hungarian. I think Hungarian immigrated. I think without the accent, it would be so boring. I think Dracula's accent is one of the most defining things about him, both in the... You look like... What?
But you said Dracula accent, and immediately what came into my head was, I want to suck your blood, blah, blah, blah. Because you were talking about Hotel Transylvania.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to bring up Hotel Transylvania as well. Like, I feel like even though they kind of make a joke about it, Adam Sandler did try to like recreate Bela Lugosi's accent. That was kind of the thing.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't even tell it was really Adam Sandler until you looked it up. I didn't know that Adam Sandler played Drac in Hotel Transylvania until I looked it up.
I didn't know that till right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Congratulations. You've learned. Or need. You learn. I don't know where I'm going with that mispronunciation gag. The point of the fact is, I think there's a reason it's been emulated. It's not hard to see why. When something works, people tend to rip it off or they tend to parody it. And it kind of more so just speaks to the strength of the original. No matter how inaccurate it is, I think the original Dracula's only problem is that about halfway through, once they get into the mainland, it's like, okay, what is he going to do now? And it's like, oh, he's going to go to the property that he bought from Renfield, and he's going to hide out there. Next door is this psych ward that Renfield's going to get admitted to because he's a crazy person who wants to eat birds. And so the doctor there, what's his name? Dr. Seward, has like connections to people. He's got friends. He's got a daughter. And Dracula's just going to suck everybody's blood. He's got a really good place to be. And he wanted to get to England anyways. He's going to wreak havoc on England. So they give some drive to it eventually. It's not like kind of stagnant the entire time, but it could slow down at the halfway point there. But I'm not complaining. Also what I am complaining about, nitpick. Let me ask you. Do you remember if one of his powers was the ability to hypnotize people?
I don't remember, but that sounds like a very Dracula thing.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
My problem with it is that they paint it as hypnotizing. You've heard the like common complaint that like hypnotizing means you're convincing someone to do something that they were gonna do anyways, or they like want to do kind of deep down, like psychological urges. Looking at how he did it with Renfield, this like normal real estate agent turns into an actual psychopath. I don't think that's really hypnotization. I think that's just brainwashing at that point. I'm not even like, it's funny, but I'm not even joking. I think he just straight up brainwashes the guy, or he like just uses psychic abilities to force him to do stuff. I don't think Renfield was really hypnotized so much as he was just taking control of.
It was his secret vampire powers.
Wait, what?
His secret vampire powers? I'm making a joke.
Wait, I'm confused now.
What?
Renfield's secret vampire powers or Dracula's?
Dracula's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, his secret power is just brainwashing people.
Yes.
Okay. Now you're right. I think I'm just running slow today. I think my brain is gone. I've been doing accounting homework all week, and my brain is just giving up on me.
That'll fry you.
Yay, fried egg.
Yeah.
My brain is a fried egg. We're going to take a quick break, folks. We've been all over the place tonight, but thank you for listening in thus far. When we come back, we will jump into Frankenstein and hopefully not be disorganized. So stick around. 88.1 The Burg, your music central. Welcome back to What to Watch Weekends, everybody. My name is Nathan, your host, and I'm joined by my co-host, Walter.
Hey, guys.
Hello, welcome back, everybody. We talked extensively about Dracula, and during the break, we've been looking at more Dracula.
There's so many of them.
There's so many. Walter, you've told me that there was a Turkish Dracula,
Yep.
a Bram Stoker's Dracula from the 1950s, and there's apparently Dracula 1000, or
Dracula 3000.
okay, and then it wasn't there Dracula 2000.
Yes, Dracula 2000 from 2000.
Okay.
And then Dracula 3000 from 2004. And they're like sci-fi, and Dracula goes to space. He's on a spaceship. Yeah.
Bats in space. I couldn't resist. So we've talked a lot about Dracula. The thoughts weren't super organized, but that's completely fine.
Yeah.
We are going to move on to something that I can really organize my thoughts about, or I'm going to kind of just go all over the place with how I talk about this one. Frankenstein from 1931, available to watch now on Peacock. Henry Frankenstein, a wildly obsessed scientist, stitches together parts from cadavers to create a human being. He then brings this creature to life, and chaos ensues, because I call it a creature, not a human being, since it's just a creature, not really an actual human. It's just made from dead bodies. Okay. I must now make this disclaimer. I just mentioned that the character is known as Henry Frankenstein. For the next 20 or so minutes, I will be referring to him as Victor Frankenstein, because in the original novel by Mary Shelley, the main character is named Victor Frankenstein. In the movie, they changed it to Henry Frankenstein because... Okay, you're going to get a laugh out of this, Walter. Do you think... Why would you think that they changed it from Victor to Henry?
To sound more American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think with it being the 1930s that something, oh, it sounds too German. No, they just changed it to Henry because Victor is too scary and evil for Americans. Bogus. That's my reaction to it. Just bogus. How bogus of you. How dare you? There's no good reason for them to change it. Henry's a stupid name. It's not actually. If you're named Henry, you're fine. But at the same time, in comparison to Victor, and with the last name being Frankenstein, Henry does not line up. It just doesn't line up at all. And of course, to make my job not as easy, they then changed... I don't remember the name of his best friend's name in the book, but it wasn't what they changed it to. Do you know what they changed his best friend's name to?
I don't know.
Victor.
Yeah.
They called him Victor in the...
That checks out.
Yeah, they changed the name of the main character from Victor to Henry, and then changed the friend's name from whatever it was to Victor. They still kept Victor in there. They could have just... So thankfully, here's what makes my job easier. Victor in the Frankenstein movie does absolutely nothing, and I will never mention him after this point. So I don't care. I'm going to call the main character Victor, and if you get confused by that, you're wrong. It's as simple as that. His name is Victor in the original story, and it's a much better name with the last name of Frankenstein. Then we're just going to refer to him as Victor. Yes, Americans are bogus. Do you agree with this statement?
Yes.
Good. So, with that out of the way, with this movie, Frankenstein, we get introduced to the one and only Boris Karloff, playing, as I will call him, the creature instead of Frankenstein's monster.
Yes.
You were making a point of how you like
Yes.
you like to correct people.
His name is not Frankenstein.
No.
He's Frankenstein's monster.
I'm
And I will
aware.
correct people on this.
We are all very aware
Yes.
at this point. This movie's been around nearly 100 years. But I will say, I'm sure, like with the Crocodile Dundee quote, where people say, "This is a knife," that I'm sure a lot of people get that wrong still to this day. That's a knife, and it's Frankenstein's monster, guys.
Yes.
Get it right. Regardless of those rants. I think I really like Boris Karloff, and I think the thing about him is that, like Bela Lugosi, he kind of makes the role his own. He's the reason people remember the movie, and he kind of elevates it so that the inaccuracies kind of pale in comparison to the performance of the actor, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen clips of the...
I have not.
Okay, fair enough.
Out of all the movies we're talking about, I've not seen this one. Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, you've seen the references, though. You've seen the parodies.
I know the references. I know it's been parodied
to death. Like,
Yeah.
all of it. I mean, you've basically seen the movie at this point. If you've seen any parodies by, like, Pinky and the Brain or something like that. That's the first thing that I always think of as being a parody, but, like, there's so many others. Here's one thing I never actually noticed when I was watching the movie. You know how I was, like, talking about Dwight Fry?
Yeah.
I noticed that he plays Fritz in Frankenstein 1931.
All right.
Fritz is basically what would become Igor later down the line.
Yeah.
He's the hunchbacked assistant. I didn't notice that he was played by Dwight Fry until doing research for tonight's show, and I was like, oh, I didn't know he was there. I'm happy to see him again. That's great. One problem, though. Why is he in here? Fritz is not in the original story. Igor is not a character from Mary Shelley's novel. Frankenstein's just kind of on his own. He's just a mad scientist on his own. And they were like, no, we're going to have this hunchback join him because we think it's funny, I guess. Fritz did later become Igor, and then they made a kids movie about Igor. Igor's been in so many of the other... Again, it's like with Dracula, like, kind of the inaccuracies is what people stick with instead of the thing that was from the original story. It's what?
What? So I was looking up Frankenstein films.
Right.
And there's this one I've never heard of before from 2017 called Franken-Thug. And it's a rapper who becomes Frankenstein's brother, and it just has a really goofy looking cover.
Okay, wait.
Yeah. He's not even like trying to look like a Frankenstein monster.
That looks like a wolf man.
He's just a guy.
I'm sorry, wait. Is this like Dr. Frankenstein's brother, or are we talking Frankenstein Monster's
Frankenstein Monster's brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I got confused because you didn't specify. You said just Frankenstein's brother.
That's what I was reading off the screen.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I was going to say, like, you make a big stink about correcting it, but if you're going to read off the screen, that's totally fine.
Yes.
I'm sure they didn't get it right either. They just called the monster Frankenstein. Hey, like... I don't know, 90 years later, we're still messing it up. That's great to know. That's great to know. At any rate, when I think of Igor, who was Fritz in the original story, you know what I think of? I think of this weird 3D animated kids movie that was always recommended to me by YouTube movies.
And I've never seen it.
I haven't seen it either.
I know what the guy looks like.
Yeah, it's...
The lumpy-looking guy.
Yeah, imagine that as a Disney character in 3D animation. Doesn't it look perfect?
Yeah.
So, I theoretically respect my time, he says after he's seen the movie about the sentient tire, but that's neither here nor there. The thing about it is that with Igor, I always think about it, and I looked into it. You want to hear who was in this movie?
Who?
There was John Cusack, John Cleese from Monty Python.
Mython.
Mython.
Monty Python. Yeah.
Steve Buscemi was in the movie.
Okay.
Christian Slater, Jennifer Coolidge, and Jay Leno.
Wow. Those are some huge names.
Yes.
B-list names.
Jay Leno
is pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were in the 3D animated Igor movie. So I have problems with Igor and, by extension, Fritz. At the same time, he's played by Dwight Fry, so I don't care. Getting back on track. We're
all over the place.
We're all over the place, but I think it's a little bit more entertaining this way. I kind of wish we were like this last year, because last year we were just tired very early in the morning on what to watch weekends. This year we're all over the place. It's a lot more fun. So let's just get more on track. Do you want to talk about morality?
I do.
Okay, that's good to know because I have so many notes about morality. Let me ask you this. Have you ever viewed the original story of Frankenstein as more so being a story about the creature being a victim?
Yeah.
Have you?
I know the general like synopsis.
Right.
Yeah.
And my thing about it is that I heard that from people, and then I watched it, and I was like, I can kind of see where they're coming from. Because from the one perspective, at first, I thought they were like, oh, you feel bad for him just kind of existing. And it's like, no, if that was the case, I'd feel bad for every single person on Earth. Do we all know how birth works? You're not alive to ask to be born yet. That's how that works. So I don't feel bad for the monster for being brought to life. No human being asks to be brought to life. But then I kind of stepped back. I stopped being a bozo about it, and I watched. And I realized, oh, no, they're not talking about that. They're talking about the fact that the monster objectively just lives an awful life. The creature, I should call him. The creature. He lives an awful life. He's just, like, locked away after being brought to life and just, like, tormented by fire. His, like, one weakness. And he still, like, tries to get angry and, like, attack it. And he's, like, in the movie specifically, he's like whipped by Fritz a bunch of times, and he's like constantly treated as a monster, just this thing to be avoided. And it's kind of like, wow, this is kind of upsetting to watch. It's like watching a really sad documentary on animal abuse, but from the 30s. It's a weird. That's a weird comparison, but it does kind of apply because the creature's just kind of a brute for the movie. And I feel like for all the complaints you can make about accuracies, I feel like I personally am fine with him being a brute in the movie because it makes him more sympathetic. If he was like he was in the original story, I read the entire synopsis of the thing. You want to know what they did with what Mary Shelley did in the original story?
What?
She made a serial killer.
Yeah.
Out of the creature. She basically made him into like a well-trained guy who basically reads books and is like intelligent. And then he goes, hey, Frankenstein, I'm going to kill your whole family if you don't make me a bride. And it's like, oh, I don't feel bad for this guy anymore because he's studied philosophy. He knows what's right and wrong right now, and he's doing the objectively wrong thing. This monster, he like accidentally throws a girl into a pond and drowns her. And he's really upset about it because he doesn't know that he's that strong. And he doesn't realize that, like, humans don't float naturally. So you feel really bad for him. And I think that, to me, is, like, a big distinction. And I'm glad they made the change for him to just kind of be this oaf. It'd be so silly if it wasn't kind of sad.
Yeah.
And aside from that, I think also Frankenstein has one of the strongest premises behind it. This is where I'm going to actually really want to focus in here and talk to one-on-one, Walter. Let me ask you, do you think it's horrifying to know who your God is?
Ooh, that I don't want to know that. Yeah. Yeah.
Think about it. Frankenstein's monster knows exactly who his God is.
Yeah.
He knows who created him. He knows that Dr. Frankenstein is the thing that stitched him together, put him up in the sky, and had him be struck by lightning. He can look at him. He can put his hands around Dr. Frankenstein's throat, which he does multiple times. That's not really an exaggeration at any point. He can look at him, talk to him, interact with him, make noises too, with the thing that created him. This raises so many questions that I was just thinking about walking around campus the other day. I was like, whoa, when I step back for a second, there's a reason this story is kind of remembered. And it's such a cool thing because I've always wanted to make a horror movie that's like the first person perspective of the monster being held in this like alien facility or something like that, that's been like created by like splicing genes together and stuff like that. And you see it through the monster's perspective as it like hunts down the people. Right?
Yeah.
Frankenstein is exactly that concept. It's exactly that. You see what he goes through. You see what is done to create him. And on the one hand, if you're just a scientist, it kind of enforces the, especially if you're an atheist who's like, there is no God, we came from like a big bang, and considering, and that's worth considering because Frankenstein is a scientist, Dr. Frankenstein, he would definitely believe that. He'd believe that life is kind of pointless and that we're all going towards nothing. Do you realize how much, like, creating human life kind of backs up that theory?
Yeah.
That, like, if life is so insignificant that it can just be accidentally done by throwing a dead body up there in the sky and having it hit by lightning, that is kind of like proof that there is no point. Conversely, if you tell a religious person, hey, this man just made another living thing, they'd be like, what? You're telling me this thing with no soul just has a brain and it's stitched together with dead body parts that have no connection, no intention behind it, except for that of the will of a man instead of a god. You're telling me that can live and walk around? I don't think it would be as, it wouldn't like cause someone's faith to be completely forsaken, but I think it'd shake them pretty deeply.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if life is such a significant thing, even in any religion whatsoever, this does not apply to one single one. In any religion where they believe that there is a God that created people, gods, polytheistic, anything else, I think your faith would be pretty shaken up if, to quote Syndrome, what's the point of one person being able to create life if everybody can do it? Because keep in mind, Frankenstein's just a man. He's a crazy man. And a man obsessed with his own power and his own abilities. But he's still just a guy. He's still just a dude. And look at that. He created real breathing life. And it's like, okay, now what? This is unfortunate. What if everybody starts doing this? What if like a bunch of people down the line start doing exactly this? Because you know there would be.
Yeah.
People would try to recreate the experiments. They'd be like, what was he up to? And if the results are anything like what he got, there is no point in believing in a God that brings things to life when humans can do it themselves. Am I barking up the wrong tree here?
No.
Do you see where I'm coming from? Like this is.
Yeah.
I think that to me is what makes Frankenstein such a good story. Is I haven't even read the entire original book, but I've seen the movie, which
It makes you fully qualified to talk about this.
no, but I will say, no matter how inaccurate it is, it still does get that point across because this is mostly coming from the movie experience. You still get it there, especially with Frankenstein's performance. You see, him looking at his own hands going, I created life with these. This is horrifying. And at the same time, after he does it, and the thing turns out to be a total brute that's just violent all the time, he asks the important question, now what? How do I escape this? How do I hide it away? How do I make sure that it doesn't kill me? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a story. It's a narrative with a driving force to it. And that, to me, is what makes a good science fiction story. If it's about an actual narrative that's driving it forward, that's good. On the side, you're supposed to ask all of these questions about humanity, morality, religion, the idea of existence itself. Because otherwise, what's the point? That's kind of what some of science is about. It's about the world around us. It's about exploring everything. I mean, you as a science person would know. And so it's like, from that perspective, I view it as one of the best science fiction stories out there because it asks all those questions, but it still asks, okay, now what? Unlike being about the space program or about exploring the world, it's about what do we do now that we're here on Earth and we've stitched together a bunch of dead body parts and we've created a life from that. Now what? But that's just me. I don't know, like, do you have any insight on what I've...
No. I was just thinking, like, would Frankenstein, this is kind of a tangent, but would Frankenstein, well, what am I trying to say? would Frankenstein's monster, would he be considered like a zombie, like Walking Dead style? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know
do.
what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Is he like the original Hollywood zombie, or is he something else?
I'm thinking about that.
Yeah.
More so in the context of the thing I just brought up. I don't really know. Because undead implies that, like, they're not really breathing. They just kind of walk on their own and are reanimated. If he was like, I don't.
Yeah.
That's a good question, honestly. If he was undead, that would kind of negate all the theories I brought up. I think
he has the ability to like think and feel and react and like, you know, he has emotion.
Yeah.
And he can speak, kind of.
He grunts, but yes, he has a way to communicate.
Yes.
So in that sense, I don't think he's really.
I guess not.
More so a spiritual zombie in terms of the fact that he like probably influenced how a lot of zombies would behave way later down the line.
I just Googled it. There's a website called the zombieresearchsociety.org. In all caps, this article says, Frankenstein is not a zombie.
Well, there's your answer right there. Frankenstein is still human life, technically speaking.
He is still technically a human.
So what I just said still stands.
Yes.
That's good to know. No, that's still a good question, though. I still wonder. But at the same time, it's just a lot of questions. And like with all good science fiction, you got to ask a lot of questions. You don't exactly always have to have the answer to them.
No.
I think that's what makes the story so good in its own originality. And I've talked about the theory behind it for so long that I need to ask you, did I ever mention how good the cinematography was?
It must have been really good.
It was.
Yeah.
It really was. And so is the sound recording. And so was the performances. Boris Karloff is great. I have so many notes about everything I just talked about, and I'm surprised I managed to like condense it down. How did I do that? Magic. I'm a magician. Folks, thank you for listening in to that tangent for quite a while there. We are going to take another quick break. When we come back, we will jump into The Mummy from 1932. I hope you're ready for that, Walter, because
I'm ready.
It'll be interesting. It won't be as deep or as philosophical as Frankenstein, so stick around. 88.1 The Burg, your music central. Welcome back, everybody, to What to Watch Weekends. My name is Nathan, joined by my co-host, Water.
Water.
I don't know if I should start calling you Water just halfway through the show and confuse people who are like tuning into the second half of the show instead of the first half. Because your name's Walter.
Yes.
But Water, it's like they're like, what is his name actually? Water? No. I think I'm using that as like a Freudian slip as well. Because after talking for like about an hour, my voice gets really dry, and I always need water after the show. So it makes sense if you line it up badly.
It works.
It works.
Yeah.
So during the first half of the show, we talked kind of at length all over the place about the original Dracula from 1931. Then we talked about Frankenstein, and I brought up an entire theory on morality and the human condition itself, which you mentioned you were surprised by.
Yes.
Are we talking a good or a bad surprise?
Both. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, both.
Fair enough. That is fair. What about it was unwelcome?
I wasn't expecting it, and then I'm like, I didn't expect to just think this deeply about something so silly.
Yeah, that's fair. That's completely fair. Well, let me kind of alleviate your kind of dissonance here for a bit, because we were going to talk about The Mummy from 1932, available to watch now on Amazon for the next couple of minutes. Mm-hmm. And this is a cure for all dissonance. Don't worry. Here's the basic plot of the movie. After awaking the long-buried Imhotep, the mummy, some British archaeologists start having a problem with the fact that they resurrected a raisin.
Yeah.
Walter, let me tell you something. I could take this review seriously. I could.
Yeah. All right.
That is a capability that I possess currently. Do you believe me?
I believe you.
So, Boris Karloff, the one who plays Frankenstein in the last movie, he looks like a prune. I'm not taking this seriously at all. I'm not going to take this. You can't make me take this movie seriously. I'm going to have fun with this.
All right.
I hope you're ready.
We're only serious past this point. Yes. I'm ready.
That's fair. We what?
Yeah.
We what now?
We're only taking this seriously. No jokes, no laughing.
No, I said we're not taking this seriously.
We're not taking it seriously.
No,
okay.
we're only having fun past this point. That's what we're doing. As if we weren't already having fun just going off the rails about Dracula. So, when you watch 3 movies back to back, right, you tend to compare them. That's how that works. Because of the way school works and the way my schedule is structured, I kind of have to watch the movies that I'm going to talk about on What to Watch Wednesdays back to back these days. It's fine. It's just kind of how the cards fell. And last Sunday, I watched Dracula, Frankenstein, and The Mummy back to back. And when you do that, you tend to notice the difference between the 3 of them. Mm-hmm. When watching The Mummy, I was stopping to myself and going, hey, in comparison to the other 2, this one kind of sucks. Would you believe it?
Yeah.
I'm talking with the full allowances of knowing it's a 1930s movie, a hokey little horror movie about a mummy, and it still sucks. It still sucks even compared to that, because I've seen movies from the 1930s that are better than this. Frankenstein, to name one of them, was better than this. So this isn't exactly super deep, don't worry. It's just like mildly more serious than having fun, but I'll make it fun. So I think my biggest problem with this movie is just, A, how much Boris Karloff looks like a prune. He looks like a crumpled up piece of paper. He looks like, I don't know, what's another good comparison to him? Look up Boris Karloff in The Mummy, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Are you looking?
I am not.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Yeah. I was looking up another movie, which I thought was something else, but
oh, okay.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm worried about it. Okay, so here's the thing. These movies came out in the 1930s, right? That things were very different back almost 100 years ago in America. If you can believe that. So back during that time, women were not given the same allowances that they are today. Shocking, I know, but they weren't. Kind of a fact of life. Unfortunate, we can't go back and change it. In the last 2 movies, Dracula, the girl that's kind of on the cover for the movie, the poster, she is the daughter of Dr. whatever the doctor's name was in Dracula, that lives next door to Dracula in England. She's his daughter, and they're close by, kind of associated with each other. So it makes sense for her to be there, kind of.
Yeah.
In Frankenstein, the girl who's on the cover that Frankenstein's monster eventually ends up killing is Victor's fiance. That one makes a lot more sense than even the one in Dracula. So they still have like a attractive woman to put on the poster, but at the same time, like it's got more to it than just random lady is here now. Look at that. Boom. In The Mummy. In the Mummy. There's just a woman named Helen in The Mummy.
All right.
That is the sole goal of Imhotep, played by Boris Karloff, for no reason other than she is woman. There is a reason, but the reason boils down still to she is woman. Follow me on this. This woman is named Helen. Mm-hmm. Helen is, by all accounts, not really all that important to begin with. Her introduction is introduced as a friend of one of the archaeologists who was there when they uncovered Imhotep. And so the archaeologist friend has her there. They're at a party in Egypt. And she's just sitting out on the balcony looking at the pyramids. And then she turns around and makes some snarky comment to this character about how she doesn't like Egypt. That's her introduction. Okay, first off, boring. Second off, I don't care. Who is this? Third, ow. So, like, ow, because you're in Egypt, you're looking at the pyramids. What's not to like about this? You can't make snarky. They're the pyramids, they're big triangles. What's not to like about them?
Yeah.
I digress. After that, they make this brilliant decision where Imhotep tries to resurrect his dead wife, right? Because he's been buried for about 2,000 years. And when he's making this chant, he's doing this ritual to try to bring her back. This woman, Helen, somehow hears this, even though he's doing it in a museum while she's currently at a party across town, basically. She walks to the museum. She goes there. She tries to get inside the museum, and then she passes out. Keep in mind that basically Imhotep figures out that she is responding to his ritual. And he decides, hey, this woman is the reincarnation of my dead wife. Or his dead girlfriend, dead lover, whatever. It makes sense when you think about it, sure. Because in Egyptian mythology, reincarnation was a thing, right? Like, you know.
Yeah.
It did make sense, so I'm not going to dock it for that. What I'm going to dock it for is she had no reason to be there until she responded to that ritual. And it's introduced with all of the ceremony of concrete. You know when you look at concrete and you're just like, wow,
They should make a movie of that. Well, they have that.
What?
Well, sort of.
Oh no.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about
It's
this.
unrelated.
Okay,
but
yeah. We'll get into that
Yeah.
in just a second. No, it's basically it's like that. Basically, going, we should make the movie be about this when you're pointing at concrete. It's kind of unfortunate because it's a human person, but even like a character, a woman. But at the same time, it's like that's the best way I can describe it. She's not really given that much weight until Imhotep thinks she is his dead wife, reincarnated. And even after that, it's like, okay, why do I care? No, excuse me. I don't care. Why are you trying to think that I do? And here's the best part about it. One of the archaeologists who is then there later down the line is like the son of one of the guys who was there when they originally uncovered Imhotep, right? Mm-hmm. And he meets her. After she passes out in front of the museum, they take her to this hotel, basically. And this guy, the son of one of the archaeologists, is just there, and he's like, man, you're attractive. I really think you're super attractive. And they start talking, and it's very uncomfortable because he's very clearly just so very attracted to her after just meeting her. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then the next day, the plotline goes that he becomes super gung-ho about protecting her from Imhotep. And he's like, I love you. I want you to be my wife. How long has it been, Walter? A day.
A day.
A day. A day. A singular day. I paused it and I yelled that at the screen. Because they'd known each other for a day. If you think any other relationship is forced, The Mummy from 1932 has you beat, man. Like, I can tell it's infuriating. The way I describe it is not appropriate for the radio, but the best way I can describe it is the attraction that ended the world on his end specifically. If that makes any, do you catch my drift at all?
Yes.
Good. So what was that you said about there being a concrete movie?
Well, technically, I was thinking so Andy Warhol made this film called Empire, and it was just an 8-hour like time lapse of the sun setting over the Empire State Building.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Yes.
This one. Didn't he also make the one about paint drying?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
They did make a movie about concrete. And it's super boring. And that was the whole movie.
I can imagine it being boring.
Yes. Anyways, about the mummy.
About the mummy.
Yeah, last week you said, "Oh, I'm going to be talking about the mummy," and I'm like, "Wow, I love that movie." 'Cause I was thinking of the 1999 Brendan Fraser, the Mummy, not 1930 The Mummy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It is kind of funny how that works out, because without this movie, there wouldn't have been the Brendan
There
Fraser.
would not, no.
Because it's like the first one that had a mummy as a main like villain. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean it's good.
No.
It just means that it is the first one. And I haven't seen The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, but I can guarantee you I'd probably like it a lot more than I
Yes.
like this one. And I kind of want to watch it after sitting through this slog of a nonsense of a thing. It's just okay. I need to pull up a picture of this for you. I don't know if you've seen the picture quite yet. Let me just show this to you. The Mummy 19th. Okay, so
I was just looked at a picture of the 1932 Karloff the Mummy, and he doesn't even look like a mummy. He just looks like a guy.
yeah, does he still look like a raisin though?
Yeah.
Good. My interpretation. Okay, he just looks like a prune.
Yeah.
He just looks like a prune wrapped in bandages. It's so boring. It's so boring, man. That's all I really have to say about The Mummy. I kind of wish I had skipped this one and just gone straight to The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. So we're going to move on. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we will talk about the only other Universal monster movie that I watched over the course of this week. That will be The Invisible Man from 1933. Are you familiar with The Invisible Man at all?
I know, like, the story, but I've never seen the original movie.
That's
No.
fine.
Yeah.
Have you read the book?
I've not.
Oh,
I didn't know
okay.
there was a book. But
Oh.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, stick around, folks. We'll be back soon.
Yeah.
88.1 The Burg, your music central. Welcome back to What to Watch Weekends, everybody. We are talking about the last movie of the night, that being The Invisible Man from 1933, available to watch now on Amazon. As always, he says that was a big flub. As always, I'm your host, Nathan, joined by my co-host,
Walter. Water.
Walter.
Yeah.
Then he Walter to. Oh, dang it! I was gonna make a stupid
but the duck song.
the duck song. At any rate, basic plot premise of The Invisible Man from 1933. Jack Griffin stumbles into a quaint little bar and, over the course of time, is revealed to be hiding a mysterious secret under his bandaged head, his dark glasses, his gloves, his trench coat. And let me ask you, like, with all that costuming, did you know that Jack Griffin is invisible?
No way, really?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's called The Invisible Man, and like the first
Never would have guessed.
Yeah, the first person you see walking around is Jack Griffin, and he is the Invisible Man.
Yeah.
No way. It's a miracle of screenwriting. They really had that twist coming. In the movie's defense, that was my problem with the original story as well. Is like it's kind of obvious from the first outset that he's going to be invisible.
Yeah.
It's not much of a twist if you call the story The Invisible Man, you know?
The Visible Man.
Oh, no, he's invisible. This is a big twist. Oddly enough, I feel like that would work more than just what they did do. But at the same time, I will say, weirdly enough, this is the only one that I've read the original book all the way through. Granted, it was like you and Dracula. It was back when I was in middle school.
Yeah.
So I don't remember all the details. But I remember I was reading the version that had illustrations in it. I remember the basic premise of the beginning of it. And I remember even at the time thinking it was such a cool way for them to kind of work around the invisibility. Because it's really weird to just see, like, if you think about it from the perspective of an invisible person, it's really weird to just see, like, pieces of clothing floating around. Whereas the way they did it, they had like a bandaged head and they had like a hat, trench coat, gloves. Like he's decked out to basically hide all parts of himself. with clothing to make him look like an actual person rather than an invisible person.
Yeah.
And the dedication to that is impressive.
I mean, it is pretty hard to make yourself invisible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, do you mean... Do you mean in terms of, like, how it's difficult to actually make yourself literally invisible?
Yeah.
That's fair. It is. Yeah, here I am talking about how cool it is to be invisible. As far as you know, I'm very invisible. That's how I feel every day. No, but no. In all seriousness, like, I liked the book, and rarely enough, I feel like this movie is more accurate in the first 15 minutes than Dracula probably is. Like, I remember even like they named the bar that Griffin goes to, and I remember him being named Griffin and everything. Like Jack Griffin, that was like that rang a bell. I remember him going to like a specific city. I remember him walking in the snow and just kind of bursting in, and it was like, okay, this seems to be following the like same sort of layout as the original story.
Mm-hmm.
And so it seems to work. Then they kind of throw it in with, like, again, the expected random love interest that's just there to be hysterical because it's the 30s and she's a woman who is hysterical, and she screams so loud she breaks the microphone.
Yep.
Great. Wonderful. My
and then
favorite.
a painted glass smashes. A wine glass smashes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head there. It's just... They didn't really mess up as much of it as they could have, because it's kind of a simple story to get right. Because the book itself is pretty short. It's only about 100 pages, to my memory. It's a really short story.
Okay.
And with that, it kind of translates pretty directly. There's like things that they had to like kind of adjust because it was the 30s and they couldn't do the effects perfectly. Because I remember the original story. He doesn't have glasses on. He's like wearing very dark glasses in the movie. In the original story, he has like no glasses on, and there's just like empty holes where his eyes should be. And they didn't do that for an obvious reason, which is like even if they put like a black thing over his like over the inside of his face to kind of be underneath the bandages, sort of like a face covering, it still would kind of show his eyes. And they still do have that, but it would look unnatural after long enough. So it makes sense why they kind of played around with it a bit. And there was kind of a character that was added in that he wasn't added in. He was there in the original story that I kind of forgot about. His name was Dr. Kemp. He's basically an associate of Griffin. Because keep in mind, Griffin's a scientist. That's how he turns himself invisible. You look like you're about to say something.
I was going to say, like, I know Dr. Griffin, like, he was a scientist, and he was, like, intentionally working on, like, his invisibility potion or invisibility chemical or whatever. And I remember, like, he was, to see if it worked, he put it on his cat.
Yeah.
Yes, to make his cat invisible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know why, but...
That was a kind of component of the story, and they don't have that in the movie specifically, but they do kind of have it be. It's kind of like after the fact they don't really show like a flashback or anything. And I can imagine why, because it was the 30s. It looked pretty janky if he was just fully invisible and smoking a cigarette or something like that. It looked really janky. I mean, most of it is easy to do if he's like knocking over other like drawers and stuff like that, or like opening doors, because you can do that with wire.
Yeah.
With a cat turning it fully invisible, there's no way. There's
for the 30s, no.
No, in the 30s, definitely not. But I do remember that Kemp was in it, and he basically breaks into the guy's house. And I remember they actually kind of mirrored it almost perfectly with him like wearing glasses, having like a pipe with him, sitting in like a robe next to a fireplace and talking to Kemp about like, hey, I turned myself invisible. Here's how I did it. And he like explains that whole backstory with the cat and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, this is interesting. Because keep in mind, when I originally read this story, it was like super short. but it was also the version that had illustrations in it, and that illustration really stuck out to me. And I remember seeing it represented in the movie, even so many years later. It was like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
They're at least trying. I mean, they had to still put the bandages on the face because it would have been impossible for them to like make the glasses be hovering there without it looking like it was on a wire, because a lot of stuff already looked like it was on wires because you could see the wires. So it makes sense that they kind of mixed it up a little bit. I also will say, Griffin says fool like 14 times over the course of this movie. An hour and 15-minute movie. Mm-hmm. He did say fool quite a bit in the original story as well, or he was at least completely condescending all the time. So that was also accurate. Good on them. I've already made the point about how him being invisible is not a twist, but at least the movie kind of circumvents it, because in the original book, it's presented like a twist, which is one of the things I always found annoying about it. It was like, it's called The Invisible Man, H.G. Wells. I'm not going to expect him to take off the bandages and for them to be fur. I'm not going to expect him to be the hairy man. He's not Bigfoot. Like, I know he's invisible. I figured it out. I'm not stupid. So in the movie, they kind of circumvent that by having him be shown to be invisible pretty early on, before any of the other characters see it. So it's not like pretending to be a surprise. Mm-hmm. More so, it's kind of that fun sort of, I guess, Columbo effect where you already know what the big twist is. You're just waiting for the other people to figure it out. I've heard that's kind of how Columbo works.
Yeah.
So
I've never heard it described that way, but
yeah,
I guess, yeah, it works.
Fair enough. Because of the way it's presented, you'd think that it's like fun to watch, and it is, especially for the 30s. Like, some of the stuff that they did was really cool. Even if you can see the wires, it's still fun to watch how they kind of set up the sequence of events. It's like it takes a lot of planning to do something like that, especially when you can't just do it with a computer later down the line. Like, you kind of have to like orchestrate all of it and time it all perfectly, and it's not always perfect because it's never going to be perfect. That's how that works. But despite its jankiness, I personally would like to think that I have a good explanation for why some of it seems like he'll basically what Griffin will do is he'll like knock something over, and then he'll run over and close the door within like 5 seconds of each other, and it's like, that's like halfway across the room over there. How did you get over there? My explanation for that, him being invisible also gave him super speed and super strength. Because he's basically also able to like knock people over and like rip the pants off of people and like run around really quickly. It's like, with the way the serum works, it basically affects most of his body to turn it invisible. And if it does that, why can't it also give him like stronger muscles, you know?
Yeah.
Magic science. That's how this works. So it works, and it's a theory of mine because I like making theories, game theories, if you will.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm still so disorganized. You know, I will say, Invisible Man. It was something that I watched today, and I was watching it, and I was like, "Hey, this is kind of corny," but as you can probably imagine.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's the corny that has a charm to it. The Mummy doesn't have that. It doesn't have a charm. It's just kind of boring. The Invisible Man definitely has a charm to it. Frankenstein has a charm to it. Dracula, the original one, for all of its inaccuracies, has a charm to it. You got to admit, for these movies being close to 100 years old, the fact that I can still watch them, tolerate them, and have fun with some of it, and not be like, this is awful the entire time, like still notice some really like cool things about them at the time that were like revolutionary, that's kind of impressive. And I think with the way movies are going these days, there's a good chance that at some point down the line we're going to lose that, especially with like the advancements that are being made. At some point, someone about 200 years from now is going to look back and go, that's boring. This sucks.
Yeah. in 100 years from now, people are going to think, oh, The Mummy, 1999, bringing this up again?
Yeah.
What would that be? 3,099? No, that's 1,000 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what I mean.
Yes.
100 years from when that 1999. So whatever number that is, I'm too tired to do the math.
No, that's fine.
They're gonna be like, "Oh, that's a boring movie."
Yeah.
We have The Mummy 2070 or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make a joke here, but it's not working.
Here, I'll put it this way.
Yes.
100 years from now, it'll be the year. 100 years from the Mummy would be.
21, 24.
Yeah,
from now.
2124. In the year 2124, everybody's going to look back on all these movies from 100 years ago, and they're going to be like, man, what were people thinking, saying they still held up? We now have, like, the ability to just inject movies into our brains with a syringe. This is boring. Why watch it on a screen? Look at those pixels. We have, like, 58K now. Well, the world is recorded in 58K, 1080p. Get out of here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for all their faults, you got to admit, Walter, it's kind of magical that we're able to, like, say that they hold up at all in any capacity. Because it's not. They're not.
I don't know. It just kind of brings up a point on how, like, modern movies, like, these movies came out 100 years ago, and they're still holding up. Why haven't we had something that came out now that, like, beats that, right?
Yeah. I suppose the old adage is true. Whoever did it first did it best.
Yeah.
Food for thought. We're getting too deep again. Hey guys, did you know that I can't make any more jokes. I'm kind of tired as well. But at least we're not tired early in the morning, and we're getting tired at the end of the show instead of at the beginning. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for listening in to What to Watch Weekends. I'm Nathan, and you are...
Walter? Water.
Water.
Yeah, I almost called myself Water.
Good.
This is becoming a joke. Yes.
Funny. But thank you for joining me, as always, Walter, on the show. What to Watch Wednesdays will be on next Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. And I think What to Watch Weekends will kind of have to be bumped back next week to Sunday night because there's a football game, and it happens exactly when this show normally happens on Saturdays. So tune into What to Watch Wednesdays to find out the status of that. But as always, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night, and keep watching.